Coming to you live from my parents' house once again. Sorry, I was waiting for the video to load. I'm recording on StreamYard, so that's how it be sometimes. But coming to you live once again from my parents' house, we got episode 13 here of the Changavi show. On episode 13 already. We got a lot to talk about today. Again, back at it again. I'm your host, Anuj, aka Brother Anuj today, bro. I hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody survived the cyclone if you're out here in the Bay Area. Heard out in the East Coast there's a nor'easter or something. I don't know. A lot of extreme weather events though are going on in this country in this you know week span, which is pretty weird. Glad it wasn't on my birthday weekend though, because I got to enjoy some good weather. Storm of the century cyclone is over though here in the West Coast, and you know what that means. It's Changavi show time, and I got to give you the content y'all deserve. So let's get right into this. How we doing? How are we doing today? Honestly, it's I'm a little tired. That's probably the best way to put it. Last week was busy as hell. I think busy in all the right ways. Though it wasn't like it was super chaotic in all the wrong ways. It wasn't like, oh my god, like there is so much this that. Nah. It was busy in all the right ways. I got to go see J. Cole live, which was awesome. A lot of fun. And again, I'll talk a little bit about that. I got to see J. Cole live, one of my favorite artists ever. It was pretty cool. It was just I'll say this, like I think going to there's nothing that's gonna beat your first concert. And I think this was really cool because it was like my first concert after the pandemic. And yeah, we were up in like the nosebleeds at Oracle, but it was still so cool to like get to be in that atmosphere with like 16,000 other people, screaming the lyrics to like 2014 Forest Hills Drive or, Tale of Two Cities or Workout or whatever it is, right? Like it was just super cool to be in that environment again. And I'll say that, it felt normal for the first time in quite a while to be at a big concert. So that was really cool. But yeah, done celebrating the 21st birthday. It honestly, I'm celebrated out. We're done. Let's move on. We got life to live. We got things to do. Back to the grind though. I feel like the last week was kind of a vacation from that grind. Did a lot of stuff, did a little bit of partying, did a little bit of, spending some time with some family. Also a lot of homework in the midst of all of that, trying to fit all that stuff in. So, trying to figure it out with school. And it's tough to find time to like stream, particularly when you're like balancing transfer applications and work and school and trying to make Instagram content, all this crap. So there's a lot of stuff you got to do. And with the transfer apps and shit, like it feels like you're a senior in high school, like waiting for college apps again, which like honestly at the age of 21, like I do not want to be a senior in high school, so it's kind of yucky. But you do what you do, what you got to do. It's life. Sometimes you got to do stuff you don't like, so you move on. And that's pretty much what's going to happen here. So those are the vibes. That's how I'm feeling. Nothing too crazy experience wise has happened the last week. And I guess that's why I sort of have been behind. I'd say per se, I've been behind, is that, with streaming and podcasting, is that I just have been really busy and have not had the time to record shows. But I think I've found a good schedule now, at least for the next couple weeks. So we should be getting content out on the regular, which is exciting. So let's enjoy that while it lasts. Okay, we're done with me ranting about myself. So let's get into like the actual substantive content we're going to talk about. Got to do a sports topic first. And what better to talk about than the man, the myth, the legend himself? One of my favorite athletes ever. One of my favorite teams ever. They're the team that I talk about quite a bit less because there's just, there tends to be quite a few less problems, but also we haven't hit the season yet until last week. Let's talk about Stephen Curry, baby. This is that time of year. I always love the beginning of October and like early November because this is the time of year where Steph Curry usually has like a really great performance and we just get to simp over him for 3 days until the next game. So, but I think every day is a day to appreciate the accomplishments of Wardell Stephen Curry and what he's done for the Bay Area because unlike James Richard Garoppolo, Stephen Curry has done quite a bit more for Bay Area sports, including bringing us 3 championships, 5 NBA Finals appearances, coupled with the help of Clay, of course, and Draymond and Kevin Durant in there as well. But okay, Stephen Curry and the culture. What is the point you're trying to make here? Listen, I mean, like I said before, I love talking basketball at this time of year because this is the time of year, and this has like been like a thing, I guess, with like the 2010s and like now I guess the 2020s with the 49ers, is that typically besides like 4 years, this is around the time of the year where just football falls apart. So the team is either 0-4, they're 2-4, they're 1-4, they're like, or there's like coaching changes or there's just dysfunction in the organization. And this year also tends to find that pattern. We are out of the playoffs, playoff hunt. It does not looking like we're going to make the playoffs. Of course, I'll keep my tabs on football, but it's time to kind of shift the focus. You got to move into basketball. We got to talk about a little bit about hoops, okay? And my boy Wardell. Um, and again, like Bay Area sports would have sucked if the Warriors sucked as well, right? Because it was just like moving from one suck to the other suck. Like that would be awful. But thank God the Warriors have been relevant for the better part of a decade and have, had the success that they've had. So me as the fan can, just kind of jump ship real quick to another sport if I really need that. But what that got me thinking, I was thinking, wow, like I'm obviously so blessed that I grew up in one of the best decades of Bay Area sports history ever. And I'm so happy that I did grow up in that era. But also, like, what makes the Warriors like an interesting watch? And I thought about it, and it's here's the difference, man. Like, I think when you talk about the last decade, I'm focusing on the last decade because the Warriors were 35, 40, 45 years of suck. Okay. They were awful for a really long time when they came to the Bay Area. They moved from Philadelphia in the 80s and they were terrible for a while. You had a couple playoff appearances here and there. Obviously you had Run TMC, you had We Believe, you had a couple things here and there, but they were never really good. Then the dynasty came in the 2010s. Okay. But this last decade, let me tell you something that I see with the Golden State Warriors that I do not see with the San Francisco 49ers. We're going to talk Bay Area sports. And I think that we're just going to talk general sports in general. When I see this team play basketball, win or lose, they look like they're having a good time. It looks like, when these guys are playing football, or sorry, when these guys are playing basketball, when Steph is playing basketball, it looks like he's out in like the middle school hoop yard, just like tossing up shots, having fun. It looks like this team, when they pass the ball, when they, are just making that extra pass to see their teammates succeed, that looks like genuine happiness. It looks like they are playing the game. It looks like they are like literally living their dreams, right? Like, you talk about NBA players and obviously, with this whole with mental health and all of that, there's a lot of pressure that comes on elite athletes. I'm not doubting that. But at the same time, NBA, like these guys on the Warriors for the better part of a decade, I could argue for the better part of a decade, maybe it has to do with the success, maybe it doesn't. They've just, they've always been so happy. It looks like they're happy on a basketball court. It never looks like this team was unhappy. Last year was a little weird in that it felt like they were flat for a while, but they didn't really have their core all together, Clay. And there was like with the Clay injury, it brought like a weird vibe to the team and all that. But this year, like it looks like they're just having fun playing basketball. They love making that extra pass. They're unselfish. They want to see each other succeed. And building that kind of culture within a team is, I mean, it's integral. Like you look at the 49ers, for example, it doesn't feel that way. When I've watched the Niners play football for the better part of, almost 15 years now, a lot of the time, and maybe it's football is, obviously a war game. So, you're going to get a lot more hitting and violence and all of this stuff. But when you watch the 49ers play football, you can't sit there and tell me like a lot of the time it looks like they're having fun. There was one exception to that rule, which was George Kittle. George Kittle looks like he's having the freaking time of his life, which makes him so endearing. And that's a culture changer. And, I think that's what we were hoping for in 2019 with the 49ers was like, oh my gosh, like it is like they went to the Super Bowl and all that, and like George Kittle was just like leading this new culture wave of positivity, and it was reminiscent of that of the Warriors, of Steph Curry, putting on show after show with his boys and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green, and they were just, they played a brand of basketball that was just having fun. It looked like it was a bunch of middle school kids playing for fun, you know, rather than this is our job, this is our profession, like we're gonna just play regimented football. Like that's what it feels like when I watch the Niners. It feels a lot darker. It always has for some reason, except during Harbaugh. During Harbaugh, it looked like those players really just were having the time of their lives when they were out on the field, and that's what made those teams so endearing. There is something about a team being endearing and a team loving the sport that they play. This year's San Francisco Giants, for example, it was just one of those teams where every single player on the roster looked like they were just having the time of their life when they were playing baseball. And that translates to success. I mean, that Giants team broke the franchise record, and yeah, they may have lost in the playoffs, but dude, like they had more success than the Giants teams of 2-3 years ago. Obviously we've won 3 World Series and all that, and that's great. And I don't know much about baseball, so I'm gonna kind of veer off of this, and get back into basketball. But with basketball, I mean, you won 3 championships in 5 years. Why? Because your culture was so good. Why did Kevin Durant want to come to Golden State? Because the culture was awesome. Why? And what is the main problem with the 49ers right now? The culture sucks. And that's the thing, bro. Sports teams start with the culture. It starts with the vibe. It starts with the type of people that you bring into the organization. And that's why I'm so thankful for Steph Curry to tie it all back together. Steph Curry is the type of guy who changes the freaking narrative of a team. You can bring him into any team and that locker room will instantly change. And when that mentality changes and when that attitude changes of a sports team, it's it's impeccable. I mean, you can for my non-sports fans, look at it from a corporation standpoint, right? Look at it from the standpoint of you have a CEO that's a micromanager, someone who, is always on top of people's shit, making sure that they have it. And yeah, the results may be good, but people aren't necessarily having fun, right? Because it's all about the work. But then you get a CEO who's a little more lenient, a little more relaxed, still focused, still has a clear mission of what they want to do, but is willing to give employees the flexibility to succeed and willing to work with all sorts of different personalities. That's going to be a more successful executive in the long run with the company. It's the same way with the sports team. When you have a solid culture in place, the team is going to be relevant. When you promote unselfish brands of basketball, unselfish brands, unselfish culture where every guy is playing for each other, then yeah, you're looking at a team which is way better. You're looking at something which, I mean, is special. And that's what you saw with the Warriors. And that's what you saw with Harbaugh and the Niners. And I don't think you necessarily see that with Shanahan because he tends to be more of a micromanager. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I think it's just different approaches and kind of different vibes that sort of take you in that direction. And I think that's fine. But again, that's why I think I appreciate Steph Curry the most is because he changed the culture of Warrior basketball. The Warriors were perennial losers. We never made the playoffs. We were, losing team, just a bunch of losers. And Steph Curry came in here and changed the mentality and changed the culture and made basketball fun again for fans and for the players. And so thank you, Steph, for that, because you are awesome. You are amazing. You are one of my favorite athletes. And I think you are one of my favorite athletes because of the way that you approach this game. And that's pretty cool. Okay. So enough about sports and enough about me simping. Okay. We're done with that. Let's get into the trending topics of the day. And I kind of want to talk about the TV show that every freaking, millennial is talking about that has watched Netflix in the last 2 weeks, and that's you. Okay. So Squid Game came out, and, the Squid Game hype started to die down because You Season 3 dropped on Netflix on October 15th. Yay. Oh my God. So exciting. I was excited too. I was actually really excited that You dropped. You was one of my favorite shows. Especially the first 2 seasons. I think Penn Badgley does a fantastic job. Victoria Peretti is also so good as Love. The acting performances in this show are fantastic. Like I can tell you that right off the bat. If you want to see some good acting, if you want to see some like unique ways to play roles, yeah, watch You. It's awesome. Um, the first two seasons were great. Okay, I will give it that. The first two seasons, I did not like. I thought You would be one of those shows where it would like the season one was really good, right? But it was like, how are they going to change the formatting to make season two like watchable? Oh, the creators did a fantastic job. And they did such a good job that season two was almost borderline better than season one. And season one was pretty damn good. And so I had high expectations coming into season three. Like a lot of you fans out there, like the product that we as consumers had received in the first two seasons was fantastic. You had seen, like this serial killer drama slash weird romantic comedy. It was creepy, but it was charming. You wanted to root for the serial killer, but yet you knew he was a complete and utter creep. Like it's this weird play of your emotions. And You does such a good job of that in the first two seasons. But the problem I think the You creators are running into here in season three, and I don't want to like get into spoilers, and I'm not really going to try to spoil the season because I know there's a lot of people who haven't watched it. Season three kind of runs into this issue of like, okay, we have used the same structure for two seasons now. Boy meets girl, there's friends, there's this, there's that, there's obstacles, blah, blah, blah. It leads to a final showdown at the end. And then, cool. That's season one. Season two, and I'm gonna kind of throw out a little bit of spoilers for season one and season two. Boy meets girl, meets the friends, meets sibling, which is like a whole, and then like family, which is a whole nother dynamic, and they add in the family dynamic, and then at the end of the season, they kind of bait and switch you, and they're like, oh, love's also this, and it's like, love's also this crazy killer, and then it's like, whoa, like a big twist, right? Like it throws you for a loop because you don't expect it. You think you see it coming because you had the kind of groundwork laid from season one, and then they flip it on its head and they're like, nah, JK, boom. And it's like, whoa, that's, mind blowing. And it works for a season. And that's the thing, is this structure worked for two seasons, but they already tried everything. They tried everything for season three, and and that's the thing. Season three, they kind of start you off on this path of like, oh, we're gonna kind of go for the same vibe, right? Like boy meets girl. But then it's like real quick, it's like, whoa, okay, we ain't going for that vibe. And then it just turns really weird and just into this, like festive impulsiveness. And the actors and actresses in this season, the one thing that I will say in this season that is just very apparent is impulsivity. And it looked like the creators were just trying to bait and switch the viewer at every turn. It looked like the creators were almost trying to be like, oh my God, our expectations are so high for this season. We have to throw everything we can at the wall and see what sticks. And that's what this season was. That is what season three of You was. It was just a bunch of ideas thrown at a wall, seeing what sticks, seeing what works, and then oh crap, by the time you get to the middle and towards the end of the season, you really don't know what the plot is at that point because it's just like, what is happening? There's just so much going on. There's so much blood. Everything is just crazy and chaotic, and then the ending is just kind of weird. It was weird, it was a weird, it felt hodgepodgey. It did not feel like it was a good season of television. It didn't feel well thought through. What I liked about the first two seasons is that they were thought through. They were simple plots so that like a 14 or a 15 or a 16-year-old girl or guy would love it. But they were also complex enough so that adult audiences were like, ooh, there's some meta shit here. I want to dig into it. Season three did not have that. Season three just felt like we're going to try to just appease the freaking mainstream audience that loves You for the creepy serial killer drama that it is. And that's what they did. They bait and switch you. They take you on a different path, and then they take you down this other, weird route. And it feels like a lot of detours to get to a conclusion that I at least saw coming from from episode one. Okay. That it's going to lead to some sort of showdown. And that's what happened. But I'm not going to get into detail. I want you guys to kind of make your own informed opinion. But I'm also curious, like, did you guys like You? Do you guys like the show? First of all, I think that's an important question to ask. But also, did you guys like this season? Because I've seen a lot of mixed reviews. There are people that have liked it, but for the most part, with like the people that I'm associated with, like they didn't really seem to enjoy it all that much. It felt a little draggy. And to be honest, I'm with them in a lot of ways. For me, it dragged a little bit. There was a lot of parts which felt like, whatever. But let me talk about this real quick before I wrap this topic up. Season 3 takes place in the Silicon Valley. It's a Silicon Valley suburb. It's supposed to be like, I guess, based on like a Palo Alto / Menlo Park / Atherton type vibe. They do an absolutely garbage job of portraying the Bay. It is one of the worst portraying. Like, I love you. Like, I want to say that. I really like this TV show. I love the actors and the actresses that are associated with it, but they really should have consulted some people from the Bay Area before they like went and, wrote this whole thing. I have never seen a whiter version of the Bay Area than I saw in that show, right? Like, besides Los Gatos, besides Atherton, the Bay ain't really that white, to be honest. And there was like one black character in the whole show. There, it felt like a very white season. It felt like, and that got me thinking. I was like, what does Hollywood think of Silicon Valley? Do they just think we're a bunch of white assholes? Like, do they just picture Silicon Valley as like a tech version of LA? Like, because that's not true. That is really not what Silicon Valley is. It's not what the Bay Area is. The Bay Area is, I've gone into detail on this, very multicultural, multi-regional, East Bay, South Bay, Peninsula. Each region has its own culture, its microclimates. Like, there's so much going on. But, obviously you can't include that all in the show. You're just trying to like, and they're trying to use like, I get like what they were going for with the Bay. Like, they were trying to go for this like kind of tech-centered plot, but also like, they just want to throw in the fact that like, oh, it's in a suburb and it's wealthy and it's white. Like, I get it. I get what you're going for, but it was just a really bad portrayed version of the Bay Area. I would have liked if they had maybe consulted people on this who had actually lived in San Francisco or in the, suburbs around San Francisco, because I felt like this was pretty bad and it was not a very well thought out. I felt like it wasn't a very well thought out setting, so to speak. I feel like the way they do New York and the way they do LA is really cool. And that's what I always liked about you, is they really do a good job of like portraying the settings, of like, providing a really nice backdrop to the whole, like, of all the events. They didn't really do a good job with this Silicon Valley suburb. And maybe I'm biased because I'm from here, but I just felt that this was very half-assed and wasn't very good. That's my opinion, though. You guys can hate on it however you want. But yeah, that's genuinely how I feel. But let's get into the other trending topics, because there's a lot of things that have been trending this last week, and I think none more than this. I mean, this has broken national news at this point. Let's talk a little bit about Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin, my man, went through probably, I presume, which was probably one of the scariest moments of this man's life, where he basically, and for those of you that don't know, so basically what happened was Alec Baldwin was shooting a movie in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and they were on location, and they're in the middle of this like 23-day shoot. It was like a low budget movie, and they were in the middle of this shoot, and I guess for one of the scenes, Alec Baldwin had to pull the gun out of his holster and fire it. And he pulls the gun out and he fires the gun. And it turns out there's actual rounds of ammunition within the gun. And so he fires it a couple times and he ends up hitting the director. The director's injured. And then he ends up, unfortunately, someone catches the crossfire of it, gets hit, and eventually that person is killed. And her, she was a cinematographer on the set. And her name was Halia Hutchins, I believe. And she was killed and she eventually passed. She was killed and she passed away. So very unfortunate circumstances. This leads me to a lot of questioning, though. We like, on this show, we like to put on the little tinfoil hat. But let's talk about Alec Baldwin first and the facts, right? Like, I feel like this is a very tough situation, no matter what you're in. Like, if you are Alec Baldwin in this situation, this is just a loss. You either take a life and have to basically deal with the mental trauma surrounding that fact, or you potentially have the chance to go to jail, right? Like, the whole situation, whatever has gone down for you, sucks, right? There's so much trauma surrounding this event. for Alec Baldwin in particular, and obviously the families that were affected by these by the injuries, and not only injuries to the person, but also the killing of one of the cinematographers on the set. Right, like there's obviously a lot of stuff that happened, and not to take away the spotlight from those people, but I mean, we got to talk about Alec because I mean he's such a high profile celebrity guy. I mean, this was covered all over the news. Like this was not just a Los Angeles like gossip headline on page 16 of Variety. This was on CNN, MSNBC, Fox, like your basic cable television news programs. And I think it leads us to this conversation that we need to have, that maybe film crews need to do a better job of, safety and gun safety in particular. There were several interviews with like assistant directors and kind of producers who were also, located on set, who said that there were, several instances of like, and actors too, who were like a part of the movie, who were like shot and killed, quote unquote, like their roles were. And they basically said that like, it felt really unsafe. You could feel kind of the blanks hit you. Like it to them, like the whole set felt like a really unsafe place. There was a lack of gun safety checks. There was a lack of accountability from all parts. It just felt like a whole kind of disastrous situation in general. And there were several misfires that took place on the set. There was no precautions. Like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, what is going on? Like, I feel like if you're on a movie set, you should take into account of all of these things, right? Like, you figure, you're in Hollywood, you're working with a big name star like Alec Baldwin. You may not want to like, jeopardize his name so that you can get a good rap. Like, I don't know what the fuck the producers were thinking, if I'm gonna be honest. It just seemed like, I mean, I don't know. I get it's low budget, and I get you're an indie film and you're trying to like make it off the ground and all this stuff. That totally makes sense. But what are you guys thinking? Like, what are they thinking, man? Like, I don't know. Like, to me, this whole situation feels a little weird. And so I'm gonna put the tinfoil hat on now. Okay, like I think this gun could have been tampered with. Like it doesn't put it like nothing puts it past the fact that this whole situation could totally just be like tampering, right? Or someone trying to get at Alec. Maybe not necessarily like try to target and kill someone on set, but trying to get at Alec Baldwin, right? I mean, Alec Baldwin, like, what is he best known for in Gen Z's eyes? He's best known for as the guy who played Donald Trump on SNL. Listen, Donald Trump was an extremely polarizing figure, and there are a lot of crazy Trumpies out there. I'm not, okay, this is my tinfoil hat on. I want to make this very clear. This is like not founded by any evidence or anything. There are a lot of crazy Trumpies out there. There are a lot of crazy people, who like associate Alec Baldwin with Donald Trump and him making fun of their leader and all this stuff. And maybe, there could have been a Trumpy on set. Maybe there could have been someone who was conservative who may have had a motive, and boom, like, just kind of effed up the gun and, shot him. I don't know. That's a total conspiracy, though. That is an absolute conspiracy theory. Perhaps it's true. Perhaps it's not. We'll see how it all kind of shakes out. But I really do believe that. I mean, like, based on the evidence and like the news reports that I've read, it does seem like there is a lot of evidence to point that this was like a complete misfire, that the prop staff, that the staff of the film had not been doing a good job of like taking care of these basic precautions. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty sad, honestly, just to see like the fact that someone was like lost their life, and this whole situation could have totally been prevented because with maybe a couple safety procedures, with maybe checking the guns. Like it's just, I don't know. It's just, I think it's just people not doing their jobs correctly, or people being a little lazy, which is kind of unfortunate. But I guess two questions sort of that come to mind to wrap this Alec Baldwin story up. The first thing is like, what is Alec Baldwin going to get charged for? Right? Like, I don't know kind of the lawyer terms or the legality, but I was looking into it, and I think that manslaughter is definitely one charge that is on the table for Alec Baldwin. I think they are looking into murder charges for him. I'm not necessarily like completely sure what kind of intricacies to the murder they're charging, like murder charges they're charging. They could charge him for. It's all semantics, and law is a lot of, I do not have a law degree. I did not go to law school. So I don't know all the lawyer jargon. But there definitely is, they are looking into other charges besides manslaughter. for Alec Baldwin. So it could potentially, I don't think it will end up in jail time just because of the fact that I was obviously not his fault. Maybe, we'll see. But the police are investigating the whole situation. So we should see something if there is more that meets the eye to this story. But this is definitely a story to watch out for. This is definitely something to talk about. I think it's a really interesting one. And it's pretty crazy. And it's been trending all over the news media recently. So I thought I would kind of share my thoughts about it. I hope Alec Baldwin, I'm going to presume that Alec Baldwin is innocent. I think most of us do. So I really do feel bad for the guy. It wasn't his fault. They clearly didn't want Boss Baby 3. I don't know what exactly happened. And listen, my conspiracy theory could be totally false, but I I don't know. I don't know. This is Hollywood. You don't know what goes on. There's a lot of weird shit that happens behind the scenes, like we don't know about as the normal commonplace people. AKA the kid who's literally sitting in his bedroom, just speculating about what potentially could come of this. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's going to be a crazy situation, and it should be fun to kind of get into once all of this one initial hype kind of fades out. I will update you guys if I do see anything more interesting. So I'll say that. But we got more topics to get into, and I think another one of the real trending topics that has been crazy of late is by a guy by the name of David Chappelle. And so oh man, this is the topic that like I was circled on my list, and I was like, oh god, like if I really fuck up and say the wrong thing, people are gonna come after me. But honestly, I am in the unpopular opinion when it comes to this. So, but you guys are probably wondering, like, what the frick is going on with Dave Chappelle? Okay, there's so many things. Always, it's always Dave Chappelle. So basically what's happening is Dave Chappelle recently released his final stand-up special on Netflix. He'd signed this huge contract. God, I want to say like 5 years ago. Basically, slating him to do a bunch of stand-up specials for Netflix. They were going to pay him a bunch of money. He made like $50 million or something crazy like that, if not more. And this was his final kind of installment in these Netflix stand-up specials. This dropped on Netflix. It's available for everyone to watch. It's called Closer. Basically, within the stand-up special, what happens is Dave Chappelle gets into a part of the special where he starts talking about the LGBTQ plus community, and he says all of these things, blah, blah, blah. He's basically just cracking jokes. And then he kind of gets in, and this is like what pissed people off mostly. So one of the main points of contention that I have kind of gathered from a few articles of reading and also watching the special was he makes fun of like transgender people in particular. So in terms of like, he talks a lot about like his like experience of like going to the bathroom and there being like a transgender man next to him at the toilet, right? And that being an awkward situation with genitalia and all that. And I'm not going to get like too into the specifics of it because, I don't think that's YouTube community guidelines material. But yeah, so like that was like one of the situations. And then the other situation, I think this is the one that really got people heated, was where he, I mean, to a lack of a better word, defended J.K. Rowling for her kind of, defended J.K. Rowling on her stance in regards to like transgender individuals. And yeah, okay. And people are like, and the conclusions that people have drawn from this whole Chappelle controversy are like, he has delivered hate speech. He is, against transgender people. He's punching them down. He's putting them down, like blah, blah, blah. Okay. I read these and I was like, all right, like maybe they're fair criticisms. So then I went and I watched the whole stand-up special, start to finish. I watched it over a period of 2 days. Okay. I've watched a little bit of Chappelle before, and I think I have some credibility to speak on this because of the fact that, like, I'm not a huge Dave Chappelle fan. I'm not like the biggest Chappelle fan in the whole entire world. I've watched a little bit of Chappelle. I like some of his stuff. I don't like some of his other stuff. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, I didn't really like Sticks and Stones. That was a piece that, like, my some of my best friends love that piece to death. They think it's like a masterfully done, and I think it's good. I just don't think it's like on the level of certain other pieces that I've seen. This piece, though, I really did like this piece, but I'm gonna talk but I'm gonna. It's called this piece closer, but I'm gonna talk a little bit about kind of my thoughts on this whole controversy with Chappelle. First of all, I don't think you can comment on this whole situation if you haven't watched the whole special. Please, please, for the love of God, if you have not watched this special and you are labeling it hate speech and cancel culture and calling Chappelle transphobic and all of these things, watch it. Watch the whole thing, start to finish, no judgment. See what you think. See what you think. Like I genuinely believe that. And also, here's a little bit of context for you. Dave Chappelle is not the comedian you go to when you want to just like feel good about the world. He's not a John Mulaney type who's going to, just make rated G jokes, you know, uh, on the political correctness scale of things. Dave Chappelle has always been one to touch the line. And that's why he's been known in comedy as one of the greats to do it, because he's one of the best at being able to just kind of go to the line and not be afraid to cross the line sometimes and get into trouble over his jokes. That is why, and I feel like with comedy, that's what it is. You go to the line. Sometimes you have to cross the line to make a certain point. And Dave Chappelle does that in this piece in Closer. He makes a point by sometimes maybe crossing that line. And listen, did he say some things that I disagreed with? Absolutely. I don't necessarily agree with him defending J.K. Rowling. I think what J.K. Rowling said was messed up. Totally. I'm with that. Do I agree with what he said about it? No. But also, people are labeling this, stand-up special as hate speech, and they're labeling it as, this horrible thing. And like Netflix employees are walking out. It's like a huge deal. It's a huge deal. Let me tell you this. I kind of side with the Netflix CEO. I know that's like a hot take. That's a super hot take. That could get me canceled in society. I kind of side with him because he's saying basically like, dude, there's no like evidence that this is like horrible or like in like his estimation, like he's basically sided with Chappelle, and he's like, I don't necessarily think that there's anything bad about this situation in terms of like the special. And there isn't, I don't think Chappelle's talking down to people. I don't think he's being rude about it. There are a lot of things. And the thing is, like, if you watch the special, there is this whole piece basically dedicated to Dave Chappelle, basically Dave Chappelle saying, like, I am not trying to bring down transgender people. I'm just trying to like talk shit about white people. And I'm paraphrasing what he's saying. And like that's literally what he's done throughout his career. Is like I've always had a problem with the whites. I ain't have a problem with like any other community. It's just the white people. And I just use these little things to like get at them. And listen, like there were little jokes in there, which if you are sensitive, particularly to like political issues, particularly the LGBTQ rights and, black versus white, you're going to feel uncomfortable. And that's the thing about comedies. It should make you feel uncomfortable, right? Because it should make you feel uncomfortable and it should make you think, but it should also make you laugh. And I think Chappelle does a great job at balancing all three of those things. I mean, he kind of went through something similar with Sticks and Stones. Like this isn't like brand new territory to him. And I'd say actually the ending of this special Closer is just it's a really nice ending. I think the way he wraps up this whole special is really good. I'm not going to give too much away, but he tells a really nice story about this transgender woman by the name of Daphne Gorman. And that really, I don't know, like that story was really, to me, that was very nice. And it kind of just proves where Chappelle's intent is at. And I think Dave Chappelle like knew when he was making this special that he could potentially get canceled. And I don't think he gave a shit. And I think that's fine, you know? But I think society is also sensitive, and we live in a social media filled society where if you say one thing wrong and someone will edit out a 30-second clip on Twitter and start to cancel them, right? Like everything is taken out of context. So that's why I recommend to people before you have a conversation about this Dave Chappelle situation, about how he's transphobic and this, that, and the other, watch Closer from start to finish. And I can tell you, like, I know that this is a hot take, and believe me, right? Jon Stewart who's also one of my favorite comedians, has gone on the record and said like Dave Chappelle is fundamentally wrong. I disagree. And I think he's fundamentally wrong. Jon Stewart is great. Okay. And I still have nothing against him. But I disagree with his take on Chappelle here. I don't think what Dave Chappelle said was like wrong. I think the J.K. Rowling stuff was a little sus, but I think in the grand scheme of things, nothing was really wrong with what Dave Chappelle said. Truly, I'm being honest. I'm just genuinely being honest in my estimation. Feel free to argue with me if you want to, but watch the special. Watch the special and give me your thoughts. Don't just watch the fucking 30-second clips put up on Instagram. Watch the whole entire special with context, and then you'll get into your head a little bit. Oh, it kind of all ties together, and I don't necessarily think that he's punching down, but more so he's punching the lines, which I think is what this whole special is about. So, yeah, do yourself a favor and watch the context behind what you're reading, because I think that's important. And I think a lot of people are kind of getting ahead of the curve on this one. And I think people are trying to just, push Chappelle when he's been doing this for 20 years. He's been doing this since the Chappelle show. He went in, he has done, he is the guy who does not care. And he's gone through all these stunts before. So, this is Dave Chappelle for you. This is classic Chappelle. So, you know, and again, like I'm not even his biggest fan. I'm just like I'm not defending him because I'm like some Chappelleite or anything, right? Like I say all this stuff because I genuinely just believe in the fact that people should look at context. And in this case, 100% you should look at the context of the situation. All right. I know the show's running a little long. I apologize. But we got to get into this, dude. Dude, bro. I have been on social media. Like I'm on social media a lot more than I used to be because I got to post clips. I got to do a lot of stuff. I'm working on engagement. I'm working on building my following, right? Like that's what I do. I'm a content creator. I have to work on my social media game because it's weak. It is weak as fuck, as the kids say these days, right? It is not good. It's not good. It's no bueno, right? Dude, I've been on my personal Instagram a lot more than I would like, and I'm checking out people's Instagram stories. Dog. I don't know what it is, but like the people I'm surrounded by are like are college students like me. They go to great schools all across the nation. But every week, it looks like they're balling out like they're motherfucking Drake. Like I'm like, dude, how can you afford these things? How can you afford like I literally will like click on some random girl story. It'll be like, oh my gosh, like here's Carletta's story and she's in fucking Paris today. Or not Paris, but she's in Chicago. And I checked the story the next day. It's like, oh, she's in New York now. I checked the story like, oh, you didn't check? Carletta went to Austin, baby. Like what? And then like I check their like I'm just like going through stories, whatever, and like I'm scrolling through, and it's like like you'll literally see it's just like club XYZ, and then like oh they're hitting this bar, oh they're drinking here. I'm like, dude, who is paying for all this? like, like bro, I work 5 days a week, and I can barely afford Panda Express sometimes, right? DoorDash is a little expensive. It's a little out of my price range. I think, those delivery fees though, DoorDash, y'all gotta cut that shit down, bro. You try to order a Chipotle burrito bowl from DoorDash, it's like $12, and then like you go to the checkout screen, they're like, sir, it's actually gonna be $21.50. You're like, what the fuck? Where'd you get all this stuff from? They're like, actually, there's a small delivery fee. There's a fee in the city that you live in. There you have to tip. You have to do this. You have to do that. I'm like, why the fuck would I ever use DoorDash? Like it literally makes no sense. I hate DoorDash. I despise DoorDash with a passion. Like the only reason I use DoorDash is I will like pay for an order and then like I'll call it in and I'll be like, yeah, I was completely wrong, even though it's fine. And I'll call it in and I'll blame it on the chain restaurant and then I'll get my money back. That's the only reason I'll use DoorDash, so I can just repeat and get food and profit off this dumbass corporation that it is that charges me a bunch of money. Okay, back to the point. How rich is this fucking generation, dude? I literally go through all my friends' Instagram stories, or not even my friends, but like high school people that I know, their Instagram stories. It looks like they're traveling all across the world. Yo, it looks like their lives are literally that of like Aubrey Drake Graham. They're like, I'm in Paris one day, then I'm in Tokyo. It's like, what the fuck? Like, how do you do this? And half of them are under 20. And like half their posts are them just chugging tequila shots at bars. I'm like, yo, you have fakes now? Like, I mean, that's cool. Like, if you have a fake ID, like, whatever. Like, I don't care. But, like, yo, what? What? Like, they're balling out more than I am, and I'm legal. But I mean, I'm also weird that way. But like, dude, this generation, like, how rich are y'all? Like, I feel like they're all experiencing these different. They're going to baseball games. They're going here. They're going there. They're going everywhere. It's just like, whoa. Like, all right, like, I guess I'm one of the poor Gen Zers out here, struggling to make it. Whatever. I still live with my parents. Like, I can't ball out like you guys do in college. But I mean, how are they making this money? I presume their parents are paying for it. I presume their parents are paying for it. There's no other reason or explanation. Maybe they're all like, on some cryptocurrency shit that I don't know. Maybe I am the loser. Maybe they're like, dude, you have not invested in fucking cat coin. And that is why you cannot afford to ball out the way that we do. Right? Like, yeah, maybe I need to invest in cat coin. Then I'll be hitting fucking Phoenix, New York, Nashville, all on Southwest, baby. Yeah. Don't even have to look for the discount fares. Okay, I don't know what I'm saying. But the point is, like, I've just noticed severely that Gen Z and like my generation, particularly my friends, have just been balling recently. So either like shout out to your parents because their stock portfolios are doing real well, or like shout out to y'all for investing in crypto. Like, truly. And I'm talking to all my Instagram followers on my personal Instagram. So I love guys. No. Um, but yeah, no, like that. This generation is ridiculous. Like, they're going everywhere. Like, I'm like, dude, aren't you supposed to be in school at this point? Like, it'll be like a Wednesday afternoon, and I'll see a fucking girl from my high school post like, oh, like Seattle, Washington. I'm like, bitch, you go to school in fucking New York. What the fuck are you doing there? Like, how does this all work, dude? I don't understand. All this stuff is so confusing to me. It's just like, my mind is blown. I truly am just a boomer. Like, I'm a boomer. I'm a young boomer living in an younger society than I am. It's incredible. Um, yeah, I think that's what I have to say about this generation. Enough of that rant. Let's move into music. And I have a controversial take I want to present to you guys and you guys are going to freak out as soon as I say this. Is Ariana Grande the next Beyonce? People have already left the chat. They're like, fuck this. Like, what? Are you kidding me? You're insulting Queen Bey like that? You're insulting the Beehive and Queen Bee with Ariana? Oh my God. Unbelievable. Right? Like, okay, dude, hold up. Like, first of all, let's hold the phone for a second. All right? Let's hold the phone. Let's hold up. Hold up, Chief. Okay. I'm not saying Ariana Grande is on the scale of Beyonce yet. Yet. But is she getting there? Is she getting there? Is she getting to be like that next big female like singer? Right? Like, I feel like, I don't know. In my mind, particularly with like, I guess my weird generation, because we were born in like, I mean, I talk like, let's go micro generations, right? Like 98 to 01. We were born in this weird era of like, Beyonce and Rihanna were like on top when we were kids, right? They were like number one, like they were just selling out, like they were the shit. Like, I mean, Disturbia, fucking Desperado, like the Anti album for Rihanna, fucking Lemonade for Beyonce. Lemonade came out when I was in high school, right? Even before that, like Crazy in Love, fucking Halo, all of these songs are just killing it. They're doing so well, and they're really, really good. Obviously, Beyonce and Rihanna are two of the best to do it in like this in their respective genres. Totally. Is Ariana Grande the next version of that? I mean, Ariana Grande really started releasing music late when I was in like eighth, ninth grade, like was when she really started pop off. And then like, obviously you had Dangerous Woman and Bad Decisions and Side to Side. And like I can list the fucking songs that Ariana Grande had, Into You, like all of these songs that are just going off. They're so good. And then like she kind of switches her tone up a little bit to kind of fit this new kind of Gen Z vibe of like, with songs like, God is a Woman, like Break Up with Your Girlfriend, Thank You Next, like kind of Seven Rings. And then like Sweetener comes out and it's just it's very different. Ariana Grande is very different for Beyonce and Rihanna, but she's also kind of making a name for herself to be that next big female singer. Ariana Grande is already massive. Ariana Grande, I will say right now on the record, is one of my favorite artists. I really do like listening to Ari. She is super fun. A lot of her music is hella fun to listen to. I don't know, it's catchy, it's fun. She experiments. She isn't afraid to try something new, and I respect that about an artist. I don't think there are a lot of art. I think there are a lot of artists out there. I'll throw out a fucking example. Maren Morris that sing the same song over and over again, right? Uh, that aren't that kind of stay within their bubble. There isn't necessarily anything wrong with it, but they just kind of do the same stuff, right? It's like okay, like we get you have a really nice voice, but you're gonna sing the same song like in pop over and over again. Like Ally Brooke, for example, she was a one song hit, right? Low key, you should really get to know me, and it's like low key, you're out of the music business, bye bye, right? Like that's literally what happened. It's like, okay, cool. I guess, like the one song wonders don't make it. Beyonce, Rihanna, they were trying new things at the time. I mean, when fucking S&M came out, people were like, whoa, like you're going to talk about chains and whips like that, Rihanna? Like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Then all the fucking white guys at the club were like, chains and whips excite me, right? Like, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I think it's a fucking great song. But like, at the time it was like, whoa, 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 right? Like it was like, okay, hold the phone a little bit. Ari's kind of doing the same shit. Ariana Grande like mumble rapped and shit on her last album. Like that's kind of cool, right? Position. I mean, like it's just she's releasing this kind of very unique brand of music that's very her and very Gen Z, and it kind of just really relates to this whole aesthetic that I mean our generation in particular relates to, and that's why I think that. I mean, if she continues to release music at the rate she is, compared to her counterparts in Beyonce and Rihanna, who have kind of cut back a little bit, and in the case of Beyonce, like I hate to say it, her last few songs slash albums have not been so good. Hot take. And Rihanna has not dropped music since 2016. She dropped a song with Party Next Door where she was in it for like a total of 5 seconds and then dipped. Right? Like that's it. That's all we've heard from Rihanna in 6 years. Rihanna comes out with fucking her 7th album or whatever it is, and she drops it, and it's an absolute banger. I will forget I ever said this. I will stitch this and be like, I was wrong. All right, Rihanna's fucking fire. I am an idiot. We don't know when she's going to release music next. She's been hinting at this since 2018 that she's going to drop this album. We don't know. But till then, guess who's rising up? God is a woman. Ariana Grande. She's taking that number 1 spot. I'm telling you. I'm telling y'all right now. It's Ari. Ari's coming for you. Ari's coming for you. What you gonna do when they come for you? Because Ariana Grande is coming for you. I'm telling you. Rihanna and Beyonce continue at the pace that they're at, kind of stagnating. Ariana's going. I'm telling you. It's going to happen. Taylor Swift, I don't really necessarily consider in this conversation because Beyonce and Rihanna and Ariana Grande kind of do their own sort of genre. Taylor Swift is more so pop. She owns that shit. Taylor Swift is, on top of her game. She releases fucking Folklore. Folklore was fantastic last year, and then Evermore was a little but Ariana Grande is, I think she's bound for a big, 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 big promotion. And I think she could take that number 1 spot very, very soon. So we'll have to see. This is like a time will tell thing, but I think she's headed in a very positive trajectory. There are a lot of Ari haters out there, so if you are an Ari hater, I do not care because I love her. So that's all we're going to say about that. Okay, we got 2 more topics. I'm going to get through these real quick. I want to let you guys out of here at like an hour 5, hopefully. So we'll see. Mr. Beast can change the world. Okay, this is my news topic for the day. And y'all are probably wondering like, what the hell is going on? Okay, let me talk about Mr. Beast for a second. Mr. Beast, for those of you that don't know, is a huge YouTuber. He is massive on YouTube. He has like 72 million subscribers. And basically what he does is he does these like unfathomable challenge, like unfathomable kind of things and brings them to reality and is like, it's like he is like one of these quote unquote clickbaity YouTubers, except he actually does it, right? He's like, I created the actual version of Squid Games, or like a version of Squid Games where like I just give people money and people have to compete for it, right? They don't actually die, but they compete for it, right? Shit like that. And those are kind of like like sort of versions of his videos. Those videos have, obviously not the Squid Games one. I think he's still in the process of creating that, but those similar types of vibes of videos do really well with the younger audiences. They go up, they go up, they go up. His views have gone up, everything has gone up. His experience is going up. He's great. His platform is growing. He's doing amazing things. Congratulations. And then I was thinking to myself, I was like, this dude has 72 million subscribers on YouTube. The platform that this man has, the resources, the abilities, the sponsorships he can pull, he has so much power over this generation. I'm talking this generation from like 12 to 18-year-olds because I figure that's like his ultimate demographic. It's not really like, 20 something, millennial kids. I feel like it's the kids who are like, whoa, like he actually jumped in a pool of sharks. I want to see, right? He has power over these young kids, bro. He's got power. I mean, and he's voted consistently as one of the most well-liked YouTubers. He doesn't really piss off anybody. He's not like Logan Paul, who's getting into fucking beef with KSI every other week. Nah, Mr. Beast is kind of in his own lane. He's just making videos. People love him, blah, blah, blah. He's like, it's a positive feedback loop. He has a huge platform. He's massive, bro. He's massive. He's super loved. I mean, and that is like the craziest part is like, whoa, like this dude is actually really well liked. It's not like he's just hated and has 70 million subscribers or whatever it is on YouTube, right? Like he's well liked too. Yeah, he's gotten into a little bit of controversy and all that, sure. Hasn't every fucking YouTuber with more than 50 million subscribers gotten into controversy? 100%. But here's the point. Now Mr. Beast, and Mr. Beast has done this in the past, he's expanded to projects and he's done little philanthropic efforts like Team Trees. So basically, he along with this like NASA guy created this organization called Team Trees. And it's this philanthropic kind of organization where it was basically built for like spreading the awareness of conserving trees and like helping the environment. And he basically did something along the lines of like, creators kind of making videos about it, making awareness, putting the donate button, all of these things, et cetera, on YouTube. You know how it works. And this raised over $23 million. I think this was released back in 2018. He kind of did it on a smaller scale. He obviously didn't have quite the big platform that he has now than he did, that he did back then. I don't think he had 70 million subscribers or whatever the crazy number is, right? He's had several like different smaller philanthropic efforts like this. I mean, a lot of his videos are very like micro philanthropic things. Like it's kind of like ZHC vibes too, where it's like we painted a school, or like, we gave $5 million to a random guy walking down the street or some shit like that, right? Like it's that type of stuff. It's like micro philanthropic efforts. But this was like one of the big macro philanthropic efforts that Mr. Beast put his kind of effort into. Raised $23 million. Pretty impressive. This was way back in 2018. Again, his platform was significantly smaller. Now, I want to make this very clear because I'm going to be posting this on Friday. There is a new effort called Team Seas. And basically what Team Seas is similar to Team Trees in that, that was about conserving the trees and the environment and all that. This is about helping clean out the seas and making sure there isn't enough trash, because let's be real, there is a lot of trash in the seas. I mean, there's literally something called the Pacific Garbage Patch where it's like the size of Texas. It's located in the middle of the Pacific Ocean and there's just trash everywhere. I mean, it's like bottles and just various things. And it's mostly, where does this trash come from? It comes from people like me, you, her, Sarah from next door, freaking Annie, the cute barista at Starbucks. Like that comes from us. It comes from us. The first, not generation, but first world developed countries people is where this trash comes from. And we are the primary responsibility for it. We waste so much stuff. We waste plastic bottles. Like most of the shit we waste is plastic bags, bottles, whatever, right? And we don't dispose of any of it correctly. I mean, let's be honest. Where does that go? We don't really think about like where our trash goes once we like put it out for the day, right? Like it just, the trash company takes care of it, but most of it goes to landfills and, plastic doesn't decompose and it turns into these huge problems. Okay. So, and like, how does that start? Right. And this is the thing. And like, this is kind of the theory I've come up with, this makeshift theory, Changavi theory number, 507. we don't use a lot of we don't dispose of our stuff correctly because we use plastic. But why do companies feel the need to use plastic? Well, it's cheap, but also we love instant gratification, and we need our hands on things immediatamente, right? Like when we order something on Amazon, we have Amazon Prime, which literally gets us the goods in 2 days. So what does that do? We need everything. And so companies have to make good on that promise, and they have to figure out a way to get all of the goods to us within the promised time. And what do they have to do? They have to use things like plastic and bubble wrap and all of these things that are horrible for the environment and kill all sorts of animals. Okay. Yeah. So we basically do that. But here's the thing. Let's go back to Mr. Beast for a second, right? And Team C's and all of these things. I was looking and I was curious because I was like, why don't more organizations have YouTube pages? And so I checked the Black Lives Matter YouTube page. Black Lives Matter has 1 million followers on Twitter. I checked that. That's a big following. Black Lives Matter has 6,000 subscribers on YouTube. I kid you not. Go look it up on the channel right now. Black Lives Matter has 6,000 subscribers. That is it. 6,000. That is it. That is crazy to me. What if BLM or Planned Parenthood hired full-time content creators to maintain their YouTube page, and so that they can garner the attention that they need for these issues through making content? And attract younger generation individuals as well as people who are on YouTube a lot to their pages. Like if BLM posts a really informative YouTube video and not just a freaking Zoom call with a bunch of people speaking a lot of PhD level jargon, but rather a YouTube video that breaks down racism in a really creative light, you put Black Lives Matter behind that, that's going to go viral. What Mr. Beast is doing is very simple. He's like, hi, I am Mr. Beast. I'm the guy who has 71 million subscribers and does crazy stuff for a living. And I am putting my stamp of approval and my name behind this organization called Team C's, where we're basically, trying to take out trash from the seas or whatever. BLM and Planned Parenthood need to do the same thing. They need to do the same thing. It's very, very simple. It is very simple. And you can really make significant dents at this because you're creating awareness, because that's what BLM and Planned Parenthood and all of these organizations that are trying to promote, rights are trying to do. Obviously, listen, Mr. Beast isn't trying to, promote a political agenda with cleaning the seas. And cleaning the seas is a bipartisan issue. If you're Democratic, Republican, Green Party, whatever it is, you want to clean the seas. Like if you don't, I guess you're, I don't know. You must be a real tinfoil hatter. I don't know. Really don't know. I feel like everyone wants to clean the seas. And it isn't political. So I feel like that's why BLM, gets that stigmatization. Maybe has 6,000 subscribers. I feel like BLM should have more subscribers on YouTube, though. 6,000? I feel like they're not really putting out the content that we need. I feel like Planned Parenthood isn't putting out the content that this generation wants or this generation, needs. Maybe we should brainstorm. Planned Parenthood, BLM. We should see some nice content. I want to see content. Anyway, that's what I'll say about that. But I feel like, yes, everyone can agree that we need a cleaner earth. Team C's is super important. If you guys can donate, that would be awesome. I'll actually link their stuff down below. I think that's important. And yeah, we're preserving the beauty of the environment. How much better could that get? And listen, I'm totally cognizant of the fact that I am a huge consumer and I use a lot of resources in this environment. 100%. I want to make that very clear. It is true. And so, yeah, I'll say that. That is, that's all I'm going to say. I need to be better at being a consumer because that is 100% true. Okay, let me get into the last topic. I promise I'm going to do this really quick. I want to talk a little bit about mindset. So this is my miscellaneous topic of the day. And this is kind of a theory I've been working with. I know I've really listed a lot of different conspiracy theories today. Theories about Mr. Beast and all of that. And, and theories about Dave Chappelle. Here's my theory about STEM and humanities. I feel like society wants problem solvers to be in the workforce, right? That's why they send us. That's why society portrays and puts college on a pedestal, because, When you go to college, you can learn how to think for yourself and critically think and all of these different things. STEM and humanities, simply put, are just two different approaches of looking at the world. I want to break this down real quick. STEM is looking at the world through a mathematical lens. It's saying, okay, how it doesn't matter necessarily how we get there, but it's like when we get a result, we know what to do with that result so we can build forward, right? But humanities kids, and I'd say humanities people in general, people who study the humanities think, whoa, 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 what are you smoking? That is not what we do. Give me a detailed explanation to your thought process to figure out that answer. And I'm going to figure out why you're thinking a certain way as to why, why are you thinking that way? Give me your thought process to get to the answer. And STEM is like, give me the answer so that we can take those results and build them off the other results that we have. But humanities people are like, nah, fam. Give me your thought process behind the result, and then we can use your thought process and merge it with other thought processes to potentially create another solution. That's like the theory I've come up with is really why people have placed us into two blocks of STEM and humanities these days, is because they're just two different ways of looking at the world. And I see it a lot with my STEM friends. They're very answers, very results oriented people. I mean, you look at the way a STEM class is graded over a humanities class. A STEM class is focused on, okay, oh, yeah, here's half credit for showing the work. But if you don't get the answer, you're losing like 75% of your points, if not all your points, right? The humanities class, it's explain your thought process. If your argumentation isn't there, if you don't have a clear and cohesive argument as to like how you're getting to a certain point, or if your argumentation isn't there, if your work isn't there showing how you got to the answer, you may have the answer correct. You may have a correct interpretation of something, but if you do not have the steps to get to that, fuck out of here. Zero. What am I going to do with some thesis statement? I need a full on explanation as to where you are coming from. That is what I need. I feel like that's what STEM and humanities is. That's the difference. STEM is looking at the answer and trying to look at a problem. Humanities is like, nah, let's go through the steps. Let's figure out a way that we can solve this together. I just solved it. No, I didn't solve anything. But I feel like that's the way we think. And if you think in one of those two ways, or if you think in a merge of both those ways, there are definitely merge majors of STEM and humanities. There are people who have like STEM majors and humanities majors, or there are people who incline to both. There are people who incline to more of a humanities side. There are people who incline to more of a STEM side. And I think it definitely has to do with mindset. And that's what I realized. And I wanted to share those kind of thoughts with you guys. We went an hour and 7 minutes today. We went long, but I feel like we covered a lot. I really appreciate y'all hanging with me. This is a long show. I'm gonna go to sleep because I'm really tired. It's like 1 a.m. I'm recording this. I hope you guys enjoyed this show. I really do. If you guys are on YouTube, like and subscribe. If you're on Spotify, you know the drill. Do I even have to explain what the drill is at this point? You know the drill if you're on Spotify. Just follow. Hit the follow button. Hit all the links. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Twitter. At Essential Question Podcast on Instagram. Twitter, I don't really post, but definitely feel free to follow me there if you want to see my thoughts on, Certified Lover Boy, because I think that was the last thing I posted about. But anyway, please follow me. Gonna be posting a lot more content. I know this show is long again, so thank you for bearing with me. I really appreciate all of you. And clips are gonna be up for this show soon. So hang in there. Episode 13. That's a wrap.